And I remember when Mikey was talking to me about you when you joined the band, and pretty much I felt this like excitement out of him, like a little bit of a much more positive energy than before. And I think it was when you joined the band. It's interesting. I went back and listened to Rabbit Don't Come Easy, which is the first album you played on, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm still with all of the stuff that had to be dealt with. The drummer getting sick, then getting Mickey D to come in and play the songs. That album turned out really well, and in fact, I think the songs that you wrote and contributed, we have this saying here, like, just hitting it right out of the gate, which means that you come in and you just make this big impact in a very good way. And I think you did that with the stuff that you wrote. And talk about that first record, because that was, you had to split up back in the day, and obviously you have new people coming in, but you managed to put out a pretty good album. And maybe talk a bit about you first coming into the band and what it was like for you, back then,
Mm-hmm.
because I remember us talking and I was really excited. We got a new guitar player and stuff. But then when I heard the album and I heard some of the stuff that you wrote on it, I was really like, man, this guy, it felt like you had been in the band for years, to be honest with you.
Mm. Well, I don't know. I think talking about the album, I know back then, because it was such a traumatized vibe in the band. Fans were feeling that too, and the fans were used to the lineup before, and so the album wasn't very well received by that time when it came out, but I think looking back at it and listening to it, I also think it's a very good album,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes down to what Mikey wanted by that time. It comes, the first. I have to say, him and we have this like very strong bond and connection from the beginning on, from the first phone calls we had, because we kind of like the same things when it came down to music, and he's also a very open-minded guy. That's the funny part about Helloween, is that there is this metal band Helloween, but you have band members who have different roots, like a lot of bands in the 80s. By the way, that's what a lot of fans don't realize, that a lot of bands that came up in the 80s, they have the roots in their 60s, in the 60s and 70s music. It's there was no heavy metal around still, and because I wasn't growing up with heavy metal music, we had a special bond from the beginning, because we liked certain types of music that is not heavy metal. At the same time, we both, because we both liked the same guitar players, we both liked the same type of music. We know what it was about, and also I got to know Helloween before, so I know what the music is about, and he told me that he wanted to go back to what Helloween was, to be more traditional and writing great rock songs and great heavy metal songs, and
Sure.
and so understanding that helped a lot. And then there's another factor I think it's very important. My ego by that time was very low. I didn't have the ego I didn't feel like a guitar player anymore by that time. Before I joined Helloween, I was kind of quitting the metal scene before, and I was producing and working with pop music artists, and I wasn't in the scene anymore. Not even visually, everybody could tell I wasn't there anymore. And so that helped as well, because I had absolutely no ego to be some metal guitar player that is in competition with the other guy in the band. And I think they had that situation before,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a killer, I think, for any social construct. If you, it can be drive as well, if you have like if you have a little bit of competition sometimes, but that competition was maybe more in songwriting, and for me it was mind-blowing meeting Andy and Vicky, who are in my opinion brilliant songwriters. Andy was blowing me away with his demo work already. Like his demos were almost sounding like a whole production, and
Yeah.
and he can play pretty well guitar as well. He can play guitar, he can sing, he can produce himself. That had a great impact on me, and so I was feeling that huge talent in the band, which was kind of pushing me to write good songs. And that was also, like he said back then, he told me, listen, I need someone that I like and I can play guitar with, who would sit down with me in a room and just play guitar, and also who can write great songs. That's the job description. And then I have a few funny stories from that time, because the first talk we had, I was in a rush, because I had a date with a girl that day, and which was very important for me. And he called me up suddenly, and I wasn't prepared. It was like Charlie Bauer called me before and told me that Helloween is searching for a guitar player, and then he would give my number to Vicky, and probably Vicky will call me up some time, like in 3 days or something. But he called me up 30 minutes later after Charlie called me, and I was prepared because I was in a rush to go on that date. And the first thing I told him is, hey, tell me what you want, because I'm in a rush. I have to go. And like years later, he told me that he was kind of impressed by that, because by that time he was receiving all these demo tapes of great guitar players.
Yeah. Probably
guitar players who can play circles around myself, So he was receiving all these demos, and then he would call me up, and I would say like, hey, just tell me what you want, because I'm in a rush, because I wasn't realizing what was going on by that time. I wasn't into it so much in the first moment, and I didn't know him, and I didn't think about it. I didn't have time to think about it. So then we decided to talk more often. And that's where we created this bond, which is still lasting, He's now in Berlin. We're hanging out these days before we go back to on tour. We have a great bond since then. And I think that was the basis for me to join the band or be in a band, And then when it came down to songs, it was the same thing. He was like giving me the whole catalog of Helloween's music, and then he was telling me stories about every album, about every part. So I would say like historian telling me what was going on by the time, how did he feel, like very emotional stories, because he's really certain about things, it's like really specific when he's talking, and I like that. And then humor played a big factor as well. He's funny as hell, he's a really quirky, funny guy, and always thinking around the corner. If you like that, you really like him. And so and that was for me very exciting by that time. I didn't think about the size of the band. I didn't think about what that meant to join the band for that album. And also I wasn't planned to join a band. It was more like, hey, I need someone I can play guitar with, and maybe we can record an album together. And do you have songs? Can you write songs? And and then later on it evolved to that, hey, you're on the band pictures of that album and in the video, and songwriting was the job description, and we get along, and then bam, 20 years gone, and so that's how it evolved.
You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button to become an official follower of the Metal Command Show here on YouTube for great interviews, reviews, commentary, and much more. Also, don't forget to check out www.metalcommand.net.